We always talk about understanding the forces shaping your world, right? But have you ever thought about how much happens like right in your neighborhood?
Exactly.
We're going deep today on something that might seem small scale, but has huge implications to campaign finance reform in small cities.
Right. Like, who really pays attention to that, right?
You do now because it all comes back to you. Your daily life, your ability to make a difference locally, it's all tied in. We dug into some fascinating material on this.
Absolutely. And it gets really interesting when you think about how campaigns are funded, especially at the local level. It's about fairness, making sure everyone's voice is heard, not just the loudest ones. So many unique challenges pop up when we're talking about smaller cities compared to the big guys.
For sure. One thing that struck me was, a few big donors could really swing things in a small city election. Their money goes so much further.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Think about it. Our sources actually touch on this. A local developer with deep pockets, they make a big donation, and suddenly their agenda becomes a candidate's priority. Because campaigns in smaller cities cost less overall, even a single large check can be a huge percentage of their total funding.
So they basically have the candidate's ear.
Pretty much. That's why reform is so important. It's about preventing a scenario where only the wealthy have real influence on our elected officials. We need a system that ensures everyone's voice matters, regardless of their bank account.
It's about our elected officials listening to the whole community, not just a select few, right? And it's not just about keeping undue influence out. The sources also talk about how expensive it is to even run for office.
Yeah, and that's a huge barrier. Think about it. If you need personal wealth or wealthy friends just to have a shot at city council, so many qualified people are automatically out of the running. That's where reforms like public financing come in, which is something our material dives into.
Public financing, that's interesting. How would that help?
It's all about leveling the playing field. It provides alternative funding sources so grassroots campaigns have a chance. It opens doors for everyday people to become candidates. People who might not have access to big donors but have great ideas and a passion for their community.
So that means more choices for us voters, right? And speaking of voters, our sources also connect campaign finance to something really important: trust in local government. If people feel like elections are rigged, why bother voting at all?
Absolutely. That's a key point. When money is seen as the deciding factor, it erodes public trust. Why participate if the outcome seems predetermined by who can spend the most? It leads to cynicism and disengagement.
Nobody wants to feel like their vote doesn't matter.
Exactly. So we need to create a system that feels fair and transparent. Things like publicly disclosing all donations, putting sensible limits on spending. Those are the kinds of reforms that can help restore trust.
So we can all feel confident that our vote actually counts. And at the end of the day, we all want local policies that reflect the needs of the community, right? Things like good schools, affordable housing, safe streets, all that good stuff.
That's the heart of it, right? But if campaigns rely too heavily on specific industries or businesses, there's a real risk that their interests will take priority over the needs of everyday residents. I see what you mean. Like if a developer's bankrolling a campaign, suddenly zoning laws might get a little looser.
Yeah, for example, it's not always so blatant, but the potential for conflicts of interest is there. That's why reducing the influence of big money in elections is so crucial. It allows the focus to shift back to what the community actually needs.
Our sources suggest that these reforms can help ensure that decisions aren't just based on campaign contributions.
Exactly. It's about putting the community back in the driver's seat.
So what specific reforms are we talking about?
Well, there are a few key ideas that our sources highlight. Contribution limits, for one. They put a cap on how much individuals, corporations, or paid keys can donate. That makes sense. It prevents any one person or group from having too much sway.
Right. Then you have public financing options, things like matching systems for small donations or even providing grants to qualifying candidates. These help level the playing field by giving those without deep pockets a fighting chance.
Though it's not just about limiting the big money, it's also about supporting grassroots campaigns.
Precisely. We also see calls for stronger transparency laws, requiring full disclosure of all donations and spending. This helps hold candidates accountable and allows voters to see who's backing them and where their money is coming from.
Transparency is key. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, as they say.
Couldn't agree more. And lastly, we have spending limits, which aim to control the overall cost of campaigns, preventing an arms race where candidates need to raise exorbitant sums just to be competitive.
Makes sense. It brings things back down to earth and focuses the campaigns on ideas and connecting with voters rather than just fundraising. So, the big picture here is that campaign finance reform in small cities is about much more than just regulating money. It's about ensuring that your local government is truly representative, that a wider range of voices can be heard, and that the decisions made in your community are ultimately in your best interest.
Exactly. And, it really gets you thinking, how do these principles play out in your own town or city? Are there things that could be improved? Even small steps towards fairer and more transparent elections can make a huge difference.
That's something for all of us to think about.
Absolutely.
And that's a great place to wrap things up for today. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive on campaign finance reform in small cities.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
See you then.